Okay, so today I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the flashcards that I have. I only have two currently. When I was trying to get footage for it, I kind of had a little help from a good little fur ball getting in the way. So, yeah, I eventually got rid of the fur ball, but I've got just a couple of them. This Everdrive Gba and then an Everdrive clone from China. So they're both SD card flash carts, and they're actually really good. So the Chinese clone, regrettably, it lacks the RTC. So any game that requires like real time clock, that's not going to be an option. Luckily, the Everdrive GBA has a real time clock in it, so any of those games will work just fine in it. I may need You may need to replace the battery every so often, of course, but it is what it is. For the Game Boy Color Everdrive clone, I end up like generally playing stuff that I don't need the real-time clock for. And I guess I can talk about some of the options for that. First thing up is, let's go with the one for the older hardware. So the Game Boy Color Everdrive clone, of course, SD card, it pops right in and right out if you're operating it with two hands, of course. It's pretty easy to do. So, and it fits right in with the Game Boy just fine. So, it'll slip right in. So, the Game Boy Advance, of course, it sticks out like any other Game Boy Color cartridge, and it works pretty well for it. So, I went with the AGS 101 because it's easier to record. So, I've actually got a bunch of ROMs. What's nice about flashcards is it's really like the SD card flashcards. Is it's really easy to put a ROM on the SD card and then load it up, so you can sit here and play something like the homebrew games really easily, like the Micro City here, which is an open source homebrew ROM. You've also got the option of ROM hacks that you can easily load onto it and play. So in this case, I'm loading up Polished Crystal. And what I've done is I've actually compiled a ROM myself that has the no RTC hack for it. So it doesn't require the real-time clock. It actually rolls through a whole day cycle in about 4 hours. So I'll usually use the no RTC for streams, but you can see that it's also got that light that lets you know that it's still writing to the flash from the SD card. So generally what it does is it backs up the save RAM if you've got something in save RAM, and then it writes the ROM and the save RAM for the game that you're loading up. And this is really cool because you've got like the music that you can mess with and play with. And it's kind of cool to actually listen to some of this stuff that people have done. To listen to this music that people have done that seems like really advanced and something that you might not hear from it on actual hardware. So, of course, I've got to show it off, turning on and opening in all of my hardware. Just so you can see that, yes, it does work. And it does show you the controls. If you want to boot up the last loaded ROM, you press start, of course, and then it'll load it right up. So, like I mentioned with the music, the first time I actually listened to some of the custom stuff people have done on my Game Boy Color, I was kind of out and about, and so I had headphones on me. And even though the music's might be kind of chunky on real hardware, like vanilla hardware. It's kind of cool to actually hear it. So yeah, one thing with this too is this particular flash cart has a notch in it for you, the DMG Game Boy, so you can actually load up the non-color ROMs on a DMG Game Boy with this flash cart. So it's not limited to just like Game Boy Color, but you can do everything else as well. So like here, I load up Red Star, which is another hack that what I believe I had ended up custom compiling this one as well, with no special options, of course. I could have loaded up like the Chungus mod that I did for Red Star and shown that off as well. So it's really pretty cool what this flash cart can do. It's pretty versatile. So next on the lineup is the Everdrive Gba. Again, SD card pops in and out pretty easily if you're operating it with two hands. So it just kind of fits into the GBA right like that. It does kind of stick out a little bit, which if you're bothered by that, can be an issue. It looks very familiar to the Game Boy Color variety, except what's really nice is it's got a dark palette versus like the white background palette. So you're not, so if you're playing at night, then you're not stuck with that. So of course, just like the Game Boy Color one, you can load up all kinds of homebrew and stuff and your various things. If you're only stuck with this one, Goomba is an option. I don't think it's really had any updates for it, but you basically have to precompile a ROM with ROMs inside of it in order to get it to run. But it does give you a Super Game Boy border, which is kind of nice. And it does support Super Game Boy Colors as well. So, of course, the main reason you're gonna be messing with it is to kind of play your Game Boy Advance games with it. Whether that be Tony Hawk or the likes like that that you played on it. So, and of course, since the Game Boy isn't region locked, you can load up different region games in it. So, like, if you wanted to play, like, a German version of a game or a Japanese version of a game, you do have that option. Even with a physical cartridge, you still have that option on the Game Boy platform. I load up Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 because for quite a bit, when we first had a Game Boy Advance, that's basically most of what we had was Tony Hawk to play. So, for the most part, as far as I know with this one, you're still stuck with turning it off and on, but so also, as kind of a bonus, if you weren't aware, there was a lot of things that the Game Boy Color could do. So Game Boy, the Everdrive clone that I got from China, it comes packed with ROMs. So for a $35 package, you do get a lot of games on it. It comes with a whole bunch of ROMs, some subpar ROM hacks, and a bunch of other things. Not everything works, but it does come with cannon fodder. And for those that haven't heard of cannon fodder, it's an interesting game. So it was originally a DOS game, kind of like click and control soldiers, shoot other soldiers, that they ended up porting to the Game Boy Color. The interesting thing is that they had a full motion sequence when starting up the game, and they had a bunch of other things too. This game utilized the MVC5, so it was a large ROM, but they did execute that intro very well, and I just kind of wanted to show that off. I don't show it on the Game Boy Color, but it's easier to see on the AGS 101. Of course, this will run just the same on the Game Boy Color, but it's easier to see this way, and kind of actually how some developers actually did push the hardware. So I'll kind of put that up and let that play. So if you actually want to pick up one of these, I would recommend it, honestly, for the price of the Everdrive clone. It's actually pretty good, and you do get a lot of value out of it. It is kind of questionable. The Everdrive Gba, it cost me about $100, and it shipped from the Ukraine. But it doesn't come with anything. I had to put in my own SD card, but it works really well. I would recommend it, even at the price that it's at. It's really easy to work with, and I think, and it doesn't have some of the like mods that like the Omega would have, the Easy Flash Omega, but it does have a lot to it that you can work with. And it might be cheaper than the Omega, but I'm not sure. But yeah, if you want to scream at me and maybe suggest something else along these lines that is out there that I can check out, then let me know. Join the Discord, Gilded, anything in the description that I link there. Let me know, and I'll see you all later.